Hey everyone, I am back with just a small video update on the Mobile Suit Gundam Tabletop RPG, as well as some free downloadable goodies for you if you're interested. Today we're covering combat, which is probably the easiest thing to cover for the Gundam RPG because it is like for like almost exactly the same as D&D 5e, which is to say when the GM or a player is making an attack, they are going to roll a single d20, add any appropriate modifiers, and if the result is equal to or higher than the target's evasion rate, then you would deal damage. You would roll damage dice, add any appropriate modifiers there, and, carry on as usual. Now, of course, there are special rules when it comes to combat outside of a mobile suit, as well as combat between a pilot that is in a mobile suit and a pilot that is not in a mobile suit. So when you have a mobile suit that is targeting a humanoid outside of a mobile suit with an attack, those attacks are always going to be made with disadvantage. This is to represent how difficult it is to hit such a small target from a mobile suit, as well as to act as a sort of balancing mechanic to prevent people from getting stepped on. Now, some things to remember are that a humanoid has such a small movement speed compared to a mobile suit that you're going to get sort of a cat and mouse game. Additionally, if a mobile suit lands a hit on a humanoid character, dunzo. Now, the flip side of that is that if a humanoid character attacks a mobile suit, these attacks are always made with advantage to represent how easy it is to actually hit such a large target. Now, of course, the damage that a humanoid can deal to a mobile suit is so insignificant that it's really not a wise strategy to engage in unless you know that that mobile suit is about to go and you're trying to deal those last, 10 points of damage. All of that is to say that if you are outside of a mobile suit and you are challenging a mobile suit, you are probably going to end up like Daguza sprayed against the side of a wall. Now, as for combat outside of mobile suits, since we've agreed to the premise that characters will start with a base HP of 10, which can be modified later using feats and traits, but we'll talk about that when we get to it, it makes sense that characters will only be able to deal a certain amount of damage to each other in those little altercations. Now, the combat process outside of mobile suits is very similar. You're going to roll a d20, you're going to add any appropriate modifiers and compare it to the evasion rate of your target. If it is an unarmed attack, you are only going to be able to deal a single d4 of damage per successful hit, which I think is enough that you could knock someone out in a couple of rounds and it would be a fair fist fight. However, if your character is using a firearm, any kind of firearm, against another humanoid target, you're going to roll 1d12 of damage. This is to represent the very real possibility that a single gunshot wound can kill you. Now, like I mentioned before, there are going to be some feats that you can take that will allow you to, say, add your will modifier to your HP as a character, and that will create the scenario where you might actually be able to take a gunshot wound for 12 damage and still survive the encounter. Now, combat outside of mobile suits is probably going to be a pretty rare thing anyway, unless there's some kind of spy mission or something that we're going to work into the game. So we just want to have that mechanic there for if we need it, but I don't anticipate that we're going to use it very often. So now let's talk miniatures. I suppose that if you are filthy rich, you could use your HG model kits as your miniatures for combat. I'm not, so I'm going to try and come up with a couple of alternatives for you. Now, that's not to say that I think you should use jelly beans or M&Ms or go full theater of the mind either. I totally recognize the tactical significance and the ease that it makes for the players to kind of visualize combat if you use minis. So what I've done is I've prepared this contact sheet of 1 by 1.5 inch miniature pawns, similar to the Paizo Pathfinder pawns. They are two-sided, full color. You can print them out on cardstock and use any of your favorite token holders to represent your mobile suits. So as you can see here, I've printed out a couple of these on some lightweight cardstock and put them in a couple of my favorite game token holders. They also work really well in these little plexiglass holders. These are a little bit more heavy duty. I put a link in the description below to some of the game token holders that I have from Amazon. And now, as you can see, you can have tactical combat on a 1-inch grid without having to worry about busting out the tape measure or, things like that you would have to do for a skirmish game like Battletech. Now, so far, I've only done UC mobile suits because I'm a UC fanboy, but if you have any special requests, let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know if you want to see some pilot pawns, because if you wanted to have, combat outside of mobile suits, I suppose it would help to have some pilot pawns to move around with. Plus, I've got some special surprises on the second page of the contact sheet. And don't say I never done nothing for you. So that's it, just a quick video talking about combat and miniatures in the Mobile Suit Gundam Tabletop RPG. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you're enjoying the content so far, please like and subscribe. Next time we are going to be talking about feats and some revisions to the class system. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will catch you later.